Hey everybody, welcome to Aniki, the podcast about anime with two brothers. I'm Ben.
I'm barely awake.
Boxing doesn't get you excited?
I mean, I watched the whole show last. I was ahead of the game for once.
You were. Congratulations. Good planning on your part.
I did it.
You did it.
I planned, I executed. I had a good punchy boy.
So what have you been up to since last we spoke?
Played way too much Loop Hero.
I heard that's good. Is it actually good?
Yeah, it's good. He loops. He's a hero. You loop him.
I looked up the description of the game yesterday when it was brought to my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really just a card game? Or is it like more than that?
I mean, it's more than a card game, that's for sure.
I couldn't really get a grasp just looking at the description and the screenshots of what it's all about.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's like a roguelite auto chess thing. It's interesting.
What? I can't even parse that description.
It's interesting, but it's good.
I should check that out. Is it as addictive as Factorio is?
Ooh, yes, but in a different way. Factorio. Have you played Satisfactory?
I played that when it first came out in beta.
Yeah.
Paid $30 to play the beta and was seriously underwhelmed.
Really?
Of course, I had bought into the hype on like beta launch day, and there wasn't really much to do then. They've added tons since, but it took them a while, and I just didn't pick it back up.
I've enjoyed it. I like it. Technically, I like it a little more than Valheim. Valheim is okay. I mean, I like a lot of the stuff that's going on, but going from like Satisfactory to Valheim, you're like, why can't I just automate all of this crafting?
Yeah, isn't Valheim supposed to be more in the line of like Rust and stuff?
Yeah, I guess suppose so. But still, like, I mean, there's a heavy crafting element, and like coming from having played a decent amount of Satisfactory, you're like, but I want to just automate it.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to sit here and walk between 500 different chests to make one sword.
This is why we have machines. Have you been up to anything else?
No, work.
Oh, I keep watching ReZero.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Still better than Rent a Girlfriend.
I mean, many things will be.
And in the last couple episodes, Simp Boy has not been the main focus, which has been nice. It's been everybody else.
Most of the other characters are interesting, except when their entire personality decides to run around Simp Boy.
Yeah, well, you know, he's very important because he's the main character.
I mean, he is.
Yeah.
So.
I did start reading a manga. Do you remember when we were doing our preview show for this current season? There was a show about some dude gets isekai'd, and he's like a terrible, awful, neat guy who lives at home. He's sexist. Everything's terrible. But then he gets isekai'd and he decides, you know what? I'm going to try and lead a better life. And you had doubts?
Yeah, sure.
So the show was called Mushoku Tensei, which is jobless reincarnation. I was like, you know what? I'll read the manga. That's a lot faster than watching some show. And it starts out kind of dubious because if you're 34 years old and you're kind of just a pervert shut-in, old habits die hard.
Yeah.
But after reading 70 chapters of it and watching him grow up to be 15, it's actually gotten pretty good.
That's nice.
I was surprised. It's a lot deeper than I thought it would be. He's still kind of a lech, but you'll get that.
I mean, you'll get that.
There's sort of a harem thing going on, but it's more in the line of like Love Hina, in that there's clearly an OTP, but others may be interested, even though it probably won't amount to anything.
Yeah.
So that's, if you're going to have a harem, I prefer that kind of harem where they're just good friends. They're just friends. Nothing more. I did that. Keep watching Spider Girl and Slime Show. Slime Show has gotten really slow for some reason. And Spider Girl is really accurate to the books because my wife is still tearing through those books at a record pace.
I'm pretty sure it's called I'm a Spider Now, So What?
That is the correct title, yes. I just like it Spider Girl. Because it's Spider Girl. No relation to Spider-Man whatsoever.
Is there a Spider? Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, there's Spider-Gwen. I guess that counts.
Yes, there's Spider-Gwen. but that's not necessarily.
Surely there's a Spider Girl in light of
I think so. There's Spider Woman. I think there's Spider Girl.
I accidentally typed Spider IRL, and now I have so many memes. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, Spider Girl, Mayday Parker. Whenever that came out, 1998. Apparently.
Yeah.
The more you know. And then I watched a lot of boxing. You want to talk about boxing?
Do I? It's usually just a lot of hugging in boxing, isn't it?
Not in this show, but normally, yes.
That's true. There's a couple. There's
a few. So this time we decided to watch Megalo Box, which is an anime that came out on the 50th anniversary of Ashita Joe.
Ashita, the OG sports anime.
Manga, but yes.
Yeah, you're right. The oest of G's.
I didn't know boxing was that popular in Japan.
Well, it was very popular worldwide until it just completely stopped being popular in the early 90s or something.
It was when Tyson fell from grace, yeah.
It was one of the biggest money-making sports in the world, and then the bubble just popped on it, and now no one cares. The closest thing we have now is MMA.
Well, yeah, there's various reasons for that. I mean, I won't even say it was a good boxing fight, was Mayweather versus, what's his name? The Irish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude. I forgot his name. And then before that was Mayweather and Pacquiao. I remember that.
Is that the one that was over in 30 seconds, or is this the one that was an hour and a half, but they never did anything, and somebody won on points? Those are the last two boxing matches I remember.
The Pacquiao one was over in 2 rounds. It was really disappointing, I think. It was short. I don't know if it was exactly 2 rounds. The other one, why can't I remember? Mayweather versus McGregor. Conor McGregor. That one went on for a while. Okay. It ended by TKO in round 10.
That's a long fight.
And I don't know if it's technically a TKO because the ref called the fight. Because McGregor came out real fast, landed all the punches, and Mayweather just stood there and took it because McGregor's an MMA fighter. So he's used to 5 rounds at most. This went into 10 rounds, so Mayweather just waited until he was too tired and then punched him in the face. Which is a good strategy for some guy who can't read.
Yeah.
Mayweather's a terrible person, by the way.
I mean, most athletes kind of are, so it's best not to worry about it too much.
Yeah, those are the biggest ones that I've seen. It didn't help that they took boxing to pay-per-view only after the 90s. Yeah. It used to be on ESPN on Wednesdays and Fridays and such.
I mean, if nobody can really watch it, then it's just
yeah. You can't have it now because you got virus.
Yeah. Yep, that's true.
So it was nice to revisit the original gentleman's sport. What do you think about Megalo Box overall?
I liked Megalo Box. I mean, I watched it all in just basically 2 days. So, I mean, it got me pretty good.
Same.
My only real complaint about it is that its story is simple. But I think that has to do with the fact that it's, 50 years old and started a whole bunch of these sports anime tropes.
It is.
So I can't complain too much. I loved the older school character designs.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
The line art was great. I love the old school shading techniques. Very kind of JoJo-esque in a way. So it was that was really cool to see.
It actually kind of reminded me of Akagi a bit.
Yeah.
Especially the rival guy.
Yeah. Not quite as out there as Akagi would get, but yeah, it was in that vein.
I guess we didn't actually summarize the point of the show. There's some boxers, and some of them use robot arms.
Yeah.
Until they don't. The end. It's a sports show. You know exactly what's going to happen in the first episode.
You've got Joe, and he's going to go all the way.
Yeah.
Because reasons.
Because he's confident, and he's the main character.
Basically. I mean, he's going to go all the way from freaking episode 1, right? I mean, That's how these things work. But they do a good job in all of Joe's fights to really sell you on he might lose. Every time I was now he can't lose, but
how can he win?
Yeah, they do a really good job of that.
They did. I think there was one fight that was kind of meh, but the rest of them were pretty good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed pretty much all the fights except one of them.
Which fight was meh?
That was the next to last fight.
Oh, the one with the lion roaring, bloody lion.
With bloody lion, yes. Yeah, it was just anticlimactic.
Yes. It was a character drama fight, not centered necessarily around Joe's drama. So that was a little like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would agree with that. That the fight is not what that was about.
Right. So fights, specifically, that one I didn't care for.
I like that storyline. I thought it was well done.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the fight itself was like, yeah.
But yeah, it's a 12-episode sports show, which you don't get often. Yep. Usually they go like 50 episodes and you got to wait through all the things. This is just straight to the point.
Nice and quick. We are getting another 12, though. But it's like an after story. I'm excited for it.
Supposed to take place 7 or 8 years later.
Yep.
And it comes out sometime this year.
Yeah, I believe so. I think, if not next season, the season after.
Oh, yeah. It does start next season.
Nice. Along with, I believe, KyoAni's return.
Ooh. Next season's going to be lit.
You know what their big headline show is for the return of KyoAni?
More Endless 8.
Dragon Maid Season 2.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
I mean, it's awesome that KyoAni's back, but it is hilarious that is their triumphal return is more Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
I mean, it is world class.
You're not wrong. World class.
So yeah, definitely go watch Megalo Box if you like sports shows.
Yeah, it's nice. It's simple. It's fast. The characters are a little flat, but, you know, it's a classic-y type show. So if you're not looking for too much other than, like, a good sports story and simple drama and simple characters, you'll get a lot out of it.
Yep. So let's go into spoiler land. There's not a whole lot of plot.
Joe wins all of his fights.
Because Joe wins all his fights. That's how it works.
I mean, come on. You know this is going to happen.
And to be honest, even how he wins those fights isn't particularly, like, suspenseful. Because they all seem to play out the same way.
Yeah, it's usually Joe is very good at having tons of stamina and just outlasts his opponents in some form or another.
Yeah, and it works.
And then lands his one good punch.
I think the interesting thing, though, is he is able to use that strategy, even though he's fighting without gear, the robot arms, and everyone else is, and they get recharged, literally, every single round, where he doesn't. So it's interesting that that works out.
Well, I mean, they explain it in a bit of a throwaway line, right? Where it's the gear has some lag to it because it has to catch up to it has to sense that you are about to punch, and then it's got to kind of like kick in, and then it's going to complete the punch. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Joe is good at is taking advantage. Since he's not wearing gear, he doesn't have that lag, so he's able to sort of get in there.
What about the gear? I didn't really understand the purpose of having the gear. Other than, I mean, it's cool. You got robot arms.
Yeah, right? the gear is there to make Ashita no Joe a cyberpunk instead of a post-war.
I guess, but it ultimately didn't matter.
No, doesn't really matter.
Because they end up, ultimate fight, no one has gear.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, dramatic from Yuri's standpoint, but...
Yes. It helps tell a good story.
Yeah. But other than that, like, world building wise, the gear doesn't super make sense.
It's there to be cool. I mean, and you kind of get what not really Evil Corp, you get what, what's her name?
Shirato.
Head CEO lady. You get what she's doing with it. She's just like, I'm going to sell this as like power suits to the military, and I'm going to use boxing to promote it.
Got to get those sweet military dollars.
Contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. I mean, that's motivation, I guess, but...
I think the stakes could have been a little bit higher with the gear, because in the first episode, they do mention another throwaway line from just some random character that you could clearly die from getting hit in the face from a robot arm, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they play that up in Joe's first formal fight, right? Like, we play up that he's, like, afraid because he's got no gear, so he's not very good at, like, blocking gear, because you usually use gear to block gear. That way it can absorb the impacts as well. And he's, like, really upset that if he gets hit, he's going to get fucked up. But then in later fights, he just gets punched all the time, and it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can lampshade that a little bit with, well, I mean, now he's done a bunch of rounds fighting geared people with no gear, and now his body's a little more used to it, but still. When you start with 2 punches from this stuff, you'll die, and then and later, like his fight against Bloody Lion, he just gets like jacked up from this guy with like the most monstrous gear imaginable.
Yeah, he was going to be the
"Yeah,
example
no,
I
it's
was going to go to. I'm like, this guy's basically a tank, and Joe's just a skinny dude, bantamweight basically, and he just sits there and takes it, which is cool. But because he's now just a normal guy, trying to be the best that ever was, the impact of gear as a concept is kind of lost.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. It's there to also kind of help tell a John Henry story.
Mhm.
So, like, but you know.
So let's talk about Joe as a character, if that is his real name. I guess it technically now is his real name.
And it is.
So Joe starts out as just a underground fighter who is teamed up with Non-Busan, throws fights, gets in trouble. He just wants to punch people. No one will believe in him.
And he's a non-citizen, which is important.
I wish they had explained that dynamic a little bit more.
It would have been nice.
Because it's a key plot twist when it's discovered that he is not actually a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
But the stakes of being citizen versus not citizen weren't well explained.
Yeah, they're pretty low.
Not that I needed an exposition dump, but, you know, a couple lines here and there of, we can't do that because we're not part of country or something. Just anything.
Yeah.
All we know is not citizen, bad. Citizen, good.
Well, I think it's because, like, a lot of these... I have not read Ashita no Joe, so I don't know how closely this story is just Ashita no Joe. But I have to assume that it's probably, like, 80% the same. So I think a lot of these are just, like, artifacts of slapping a new setting onto the original story, right?
That definitely could be. I haven't read Ashita no Joe.
Like, I mean, obviously the gear wasn't in Ashita no Joe, so a lot of that stuff, some of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because, I mean, it's just not there quite in the original, so it's a little slapped on. The citizenship thing, I don't know. Maybe he is not from Japan. I do not know.
There was the small arc with a guy that went to war, so we know there was a war, and maybe that plays into it. So it would have been nice to have a little bit of background of these are maybe war refugees or something.
Yeah, I imagine they are, but again, nothing ever is explicitly said.
Joe, though, didn't really have a character arc. I feel like he was the vehicle for everyone else to have character arcs, which is fine.
Yep. He's a good boy who believes in himself.
Yeah, he's the hero, and kind of like in One Punch Man, because you know already up front he's going to just win all the things. The story, the tangential stories cannot really be about him, and most of the focus of the show can't be just him.
Yeah, so they tend to focus on Nobu or his rivals.
Yeah.
Most of the stories told aren't so much about Joe, but about his opponents. And, you know, again, like that works well. That's a good dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Really, he just wants to fight Yuri.
Yeah, real bad.
He's not even in it to win the tournament. Like, the tournament is just the end to, oh, well, if I'm in the tournament, Yuri's probably going to be at the end of the tournament, and I just want to fight him. Don't care if I win or not. I just want to punch him. And I want him to punch me.
I'm going to fight him real good.
And he gets his wish. Hooray.
Yep. He does. He gets to punch out Yuri. And somehow it makes his legs not work anymore.
Listen.
I don't...
Let's not talk about the last 5 minutes.
I don't understand that.
Last 5 minutes was
he got
confusing.
his gear removed, and that hurts his arms, okay. And he runs out of stamina because he was just out of surgery. And now his legs don't work?
Well, we'll get to him. So, what about Nanbu? He's probably the most complicated character. Actually,
he is.
He was complicated and yet super simple.
Yeah. He's a scorpion.
I mean, we are constantly reminded of that fact, yes. Scorpions will always return to their nature, no matter what's in their best interest.
Yeah, he always returns to his nature, which is fixing fights, because he's a fight fixer.
I think it boils down to, ultimately, until the last couple episodes, he's a coward.
Yeah.
He can't get beyond himself. He has to always return to what's comfortable, which he knows how to fix fights, and he's good at it. And if you try to... You don't even have to corner him. You have to mention that there is a corner that he could be in, and he will just collapse.
Yeah, he will do whatever he can to get out of it. Because he's weighed down by a whole bunch of gambling debt.
It's unclear. I mean, he's clearly in with the mob. Somehow he got mixed in with them and owes them stuff and has ran afoul. But once you're connected to the mob, there's no real getting out of it.
No.
And he just keeps getting led on by, well, maybe this time we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Until the end. When he does get out of it? Question?
Yeah, he does, I guess.
I think the mob boss was kind of more interesting than Nabu in some respects.
In some respects. He's very quiet, though, so you don't get... A lot of his supposed depth comes from his mysteriousness.
It's not just him being mysterious. I think it's like, on some level, even though he's clearly evil and a sadistic bastard.
I mean, he does threaten to murder a child, so...
Yeah, well, he does have some sense of, like, honor to him.
Yeah.
But it's so inconsistent that the evil streak clearly outweighs any nobility he may or may not possess. Anyway, Nanbu, we got just a ton of backstory about Nanbu with that one fighter, Aragaki.
Yeah, what's his stuff? Leggy boy.
Leg man. I think that went on a little too long.
Yeah, that's probably the longest arc, and probably like half an episode too long.
But it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, about probably half an episode too long.
Oh, I deserve my comeuppance, so my tutor should lose. My protege should lose. Oh, okay. He's not though. Have you met your boy? Have you met your boy Joe? He's a good boy. He's gonna punch real good.
That arc also just kind of fizzled out.
Yes.
Mostly because Aragaki has a change of heart because when he meets Nanbu and he wants to fight with Joe to get some sort of quasi-revenge on Nanbu, he's pretty focused on that. And by the end of the arc, he decides, well, I don't care about that anymore, which is fine. That is an arc. He like resolves that arc in maybe 5 minutes there at the end when suddenly he just does a 180.
I mean, I wouldn't quite say that. I think there is movement towards that resolution as the fight is going on between him and Joe. So, I mean, it's not like a sort of last minute come to Jesus type moment. But, I mean, again, since the climax of that fight is him literally throwing in the towel, it can feel anticlimactic.
That's not what I'm criticizing. It's more, I would have liked to seen some of those doubts foreshadowed before the fight.
That's fair.
So that Joe can play on them during the fight.
Yeah, I'm down for that critique.
Because then it would have been like, oh, well, he started having the arc sooner than just the last couple rounds of the fight.
Yeah.
But he was probably the most interesting fight, other than Yuri, obviously.
Yeah.
Speaking of Yuri, I like in sports animes having a rival that you are actually okay if they win.
I mean, I just like how so many like modern sports anime. Man, I haven't seen a ton, to be fair. Usually the villain in these are just like evil. Like I love who's he what? What's it called? Baseball show.
Yeah, the baseball show. Remember
Cross Game.
Cross Game. There you go.
Cross Game. But even the main villain in Cross Game is just kind of an evil dick, right? Like I mean, he has basically no redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see that none of except maybe one, none of Joe's rivals or people he fights are just straight up like evil.
No.
None of the ones the show actually cares about.
They're there. I mean, also to
the
win.
CEO's brother is probably the closest you get.
And he's not even super evil. He's just more,
no.
I need to prove something to myself. But Yuri seems, I mean, at the start, he is very, I'm at the top because I want to win. And that's all I care about. But after he fights Joe the first time, he gets a twinkling of maybe there's more to this. Or, maybe better than that, he remembers his roots of, I got into this because I like the challenge. Instead of just, I've been on the top for so long, I just like winning now.
Yeah.
Which I think is a better read because he does end up taking his gear off just to fight Joe at the end.
He just wants the purity of the fight, man.
I don't know that he had an arc to get to that point. It's a slow burn of him just coming to grips with he wants to fight Joe. and he feels weird about it. But then at the end, he's like, no, Joe has earned the opportunity to fight me, and I should respect that by removing my gear so I can fight gearless Joe on equal ground. So he has all of his gear surgically removed.
Yep, because he's got cyber gear.
He has it all removed. He's in horrible pain for days on end just to get punched a lot.
For reasons I don't quite know why, other than just,
Because he ultimately is a man of principle. Like, I'm going to fight him on equal terms, and that's how it's going to be. After that, there's no reasoning with him.
Yuri's a good boy whose arms hurt so bad his legs give out.
So the way I read that is during the fight, someone does mention when he goes back to his corner, Yuri never sits down because he knows if he sits down, he'll never stand back up.
Well, yes, but
which I thought was hyperbole.
So in the context of a fight, right? Like Joe says that a couple times too, where it's just like, man, I'm so exhausted. If I give my body a chance to rest, it will just shut down and be like, it's time to rest.
Yeah.
And I will not be able to get back up for this fight. But instead, I guess it's like literally.
But yeah, no, it was literal. I think what happened is they already said that removing all those implants was going to be super dangerous, right? And he took them all off. He got to a point where he could fight, but he still had all those exposed nerves and everything. The thing was attached to his spine too.
Yeah,
I suspect that during the fight, he got knocked around enough that those injuries, coupled with the surgery trauma, probably jacked up his nerves.
That I get. Okay, so like it like not quite breaks his back, but it messes with his back. Yeah,
it messes him up pretty bad. And he probably knew that was a chance. And he knew that if I sit down, that's it. I'm never getting back up. That's my read.
Yeah, no, I can take that. Where it didn't mess with his legs, it messed with his spinal cord.
Now, that said, I made that read after watching it. When he shows up in a wheelchair, I did have a lot of what? Why? Going on.
Yeah.
But him and Joe are friends now.
Yep, they are friends.
Which is nice. Let's see. How about the villain of the piece? Yukiko?
There's a villain? I guess so.
CEO of Shirato Group.
I mean, she's not really evil. She just doesn't care about boxing.
She doesn't. Which, in a boxing show,
which I guess
would make her evil.
Does make it her evil. She's just like, who cares about boxing? I'm just using this to sell cool gear.
I wish we had more backstory on her. I think if we have this season 2 come out, even though it takes place years in the future, it would be cool to have her character more fleshed out. Because there's a lot of potential in that type of character. What I know about Ashita no Joe, which is very little, is that she should be, right? Because I believe she is based off of a character who is like a femme fatale fight promoter who like eventually like doesn't quite get with Joe but kind of wants to, and there's like a romance thing there. Oh, I wouldn't like that. I don't see that working.
I don't know if that fits this, but
no, I mean, they sort of hinted at it in those last 5 minutes where she's decided to have another tournament, and she's not just out there in her formal gown and stuff. Like she seems in the small clip that we get to be super into the promoting part of it now. I don't know if that's because she's realized that she loves boxing and has understood the principles that Yuri expounded, or if she's like, man, that was a hell of a cash grab. Let's do that again. Hard to know.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else really worth talking about, though?
Not really.
I guess the kid. The kid was there.
Yeah, the kids kind of suck. They're a holdover from every old manga has urchins.
You gotta have your group of urchins with one with a heart of gold.
Yeah, basically. I mean, the only other thing I really liked was just the fight with Bloody Lion wasn't like great, but I did love the tension in it and the fact that Joe did wear gear for that because it like symbolizes him returning to his roots of maybe having to throw this fight, which is the big tension point.
Yeah, the thing with Lion,
and as the gear falls off, he's realizing he's going to be his own freaking man, and he's not going to throw this fight.
Yeah, the symbolism is really good because the fight with good. Bloody Lion isn't against Bloody Lion. The fight is with both Nanbu's and Joe's past.
And that's really good. I loved that about it.
I didn't like what Nanbu had to do to prove to the mob boss that he was for real.
I do and I don't, right? Because that's what the mob boss asked of Nambu from the start. And also I love that the mob boss is like, for a guy who wanted nothing more than to see Joe fight, now he can't. That shows like hardcore. And you're like, yeah, okay. I like that.
I was kind of expecting to like, I don't know. My mind was trying to figure out where the story was going to go during that episode. Part of me thought, well, he's going to, I don't know, shoot people. He was going to rid the world of these guys and sacrifice himself. Maybe like a Breaking Bad thing where he blows himself up. And then...
Spoilers. God, I still haven't watched Breaking Bad. Ugh.
You don't know who blows up. There's
I mean, I assume main guy now that you say it because I'm not a dummy.
Incorrect. There's... So yeah, I knew those were kind of extreme and far-fetched. But when he does reach for that knife while he's on the ground, I thought, okay, he's going to sacrifice himself here. He's going to go after the mob boss and probably die in the process. So when he comes out and he's taking his own eye out, that's less than I was expecting, but it works.
Yeah,
I like it. He has definitely divorced himself from his past at that point.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, I guess the brother, the CEO's brother.
Oh, yeah, the CEO's brother. He wants to make an AI gear that fights for him. But, you know, that's dumb because you're not the one fighting. So he loses.
Yeah. That arc was
long story short,
kind of weak.
I mean, you know it's coming because it's just so obvious that, like, what's the point of this? It's the real contender is the one that fights purely. So, like, he's not fighting purely. So,
yeah, you know that. You also know that Joe is going to get into Megalomania. So, and
Megalonia.
Please. Sorry. Megalonia, and Mikio is the only guy standing in his way. You know what the outcome is. It's also purity versus essentially cheating.
Basically.
So I liked they realized the reason Mikio didn't want to fight in the first place is because if he got in a ring with a gearless guy, his AI wasn't going to work. So when he did get in the ring with him and his AI worked anyway, that was kind of a letdown.
That was a little, it was a little silly.
Like, come on.
Though I do like the one cool trick people with AI gear hate. I like that, where it's just like, look, the boxing gear can only respond if you are acting like a boxer. If you just stand there, it doesn't work.
It doesn't know what to do.
It's like, that's cool. I like that a lot.
I don't feel like it was used as like the final punch. Because ultimately Mikio just essentially self-destructs.
Yeah, which is good. Like, I mean, that's good for that kind of character.
It is, but it would have been nice if he was more exploited into that. And I know he was, to an extent, more wholly exploited. Whereas really, Mikio just sort of gave up. He's like, I can't deal my demons and all the things and some synchronization rate that we threw in at the last second to make the fight more stakes.
Something, yeah. So basically, what you're saying is this villain is just Evangelion, but in one boxing fight.
Dude, when he was training by himself with like the umbilical cords and the synchronization rate was going up, I'm like, guys, come on.
Just Ava. All stories are just Ava.
Put him in a plug suit. Come on.
I mean, is not gear a plug?
No, it's a scarf.
Oh, that's true.
It's a big metal scarf with boxing gloves. What I would have liked to see is somebody type with boxing gloves on.
Oh, that's true. We never did get to see somebody type with boxing gloves on. I would have liked to see that.
So in season 2, I want to see somebody type with boxing gloves on. I think that will be key to determine who the real winner is. Yeah. Dude, if they had like a short omake series where Joe answers fan emails.
I mean, that'd be really good. I don't know. It could be a little bad. And he would be strong and bad, so.
This is true. Maybe it'll be a dragon in season 2.
Oh, that would be nice.
Or a dragon man or something.
Yeah, like a dragon man. I mean, he could have like at least one big gear arm.
That's one beefy gear.
One beefy gear arm. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. As long as he's got consummate V's.
I mean, that's the important part. You got to have the consummate V's.
Well, that's Megalo Box.
I think that bit has outstayed its welcome. But yes, Megalo Box is good.
It's very good. I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, if you're into sports anime, it's not literally the granddaddy of them all, but I mean, this is a show celebrating kind of the granddaddy of them all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I actually hovered between giving it an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
But there were a little more weaknesses than I originally thought.
Yeah, I think its simplicity is a little tough.
It works exactly for what it is. It does not waste any time doing pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes to its detriment because it could have been a little more fleshed out in places, but it works for what it is and surprisingly well. So what are we going to watch for next time?
What are we going to watch for next time?
Something out of this season.
Something out of this season?
To be determined. The currently airing season.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I say we should just finally try Jujutsu Kaisen.
Isn't that like forever long though?
I mean, it's 22 episodes, but we can just watch the first half. Like,
yeah, okay, we could do that.
I mean, everybody's talking about it.
Are they? I haven't seen anybody talk about it, although I've also not been on the internet for like a week.
I am skeptical, but...
Well, we'll see. I mean, there are a lot of people talking about Rent-A-Girlfriend.
There are a lot of people talking about Rent-A-Girlfriend, but I knew that was going to be bad.
And a lot of people talked about Demon Slayer. So,
Demon Slayer.
Hype means nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Demon Slayer was actually good, though.
It was. Hype is just hype. Don't listen to it.
Be your own man.
Be your own man. Go box.
Go box.